Voters of Larimer County and the League of Women Voters of Colorado News Access and Literacy Task Force. Welcome to the sixth installment of our series on misinformation in climate science. Although the League is nonpartisan in that we do not endorse political candidates or parties, we do take positions on issues. Two of those issues are climate change and misinformation. We are committed to educating and driving action against the climate crisis and to safeguarding the truth against misinformation. This series is a collaboration between LWVCO's Climate Emergency and News Access and Literacy Task Forces. We have explored the intersection between climate science and misinformation and asked, what can we as citizens do to fight against and repair the harms of climate science misinformation? Tonight, we are focusing on how students are making good trouble by educating and influencing the Colorado Board of Education. So now I'll turn it over to Jane Hamburger to introduce the Good Trouble Climate Association.
Thanks, Linda, and hello, and happy Earth Month. As Linda mentioned, we've been recognizing the intersection of climate science with misinformation from 5 points of view so far, and they have helped us to better determine what to do about spreading the truths of the climate emergency. Tonight's perspective from the Good Trouble Climate Network will be from the generation who will live longest with the consequences of what we do together. We have a lot to learn from young people who lead and make good trouble. You'll meet Tal, who is a freshman at the University of Richmond. There she is. She co-founded an environmental club at Lake County High School to help teach her school and community about climate science in fun and hands-on ways. For the past 2 years, she's been an executive committee member with Good Trouble, and this year she is Good Trouble's out-of-state education director. Adelaide, who is a freshman, there she is, who's a freshman at the University of Richmond. Adelaide, in high school, was president of, did I say University of Wisconsin-Madison? That's what yeah. In high school, she was president of the Sustainability Club at Thomas Jefferson High School. She interned at Earth Force and was a part of the Youth Sustainability Board. She's been on Good Trouble's executive committee for 2 years and is Good Trouble's media manager. And Aisha O'Neill, who is a sophomore at the University of Colorado in Boulder. At Durango High School, she founded and led a sustainability club. This led her to found Good Trouble in her senior year of high school, and she had the honor of leading this organization since then. Please put your questions in the chat, and Sandy Van de Hey will call on you during the Q&A, and I'll also put Good Trouble's website in the chat. So, Aisha, please share your Good Trouble with us.
Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction, Jane. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And I am so very excited to be here presenting to all of you. As Jane so eloquently explained, I'm here with Good Trouble, and all of us are. We're going to go into more of what Good Trouble is and what we do in a moment, but I want to start by introducing ourselves once again. So I'm Aisha. We also have Adelaide and Tal helping with this presentation. And we have a couple other members of our executive committee on the call as well to help answer questions. So you'll meet them all in a minute. I became involved in this work, as Jen was saying, in high school. And in high school, I led a green team at my school, and I loved the work I did to encourage recycling in my school and community. I advocated for my school to install solar panels. I led waste awareness campaigns, but it felt like the climate crisis was so much bigger than any of those actions. It really felt like my voice wasn't making an impact on the issues that matter to me and my generation. It felt like my voice didn't matter. And I've heard that from young people all across our state and country, is that it doesn't feel like we can create an impact. It doesn't feel like there has been climate action in the way we want there to be, which is interesting because, and this brings me to what I have on the screen, because of the research that has been done on social movements. So there's a person named Erica Chenoweth who has done some incredible research on nonviolent resistance. I'd very much recommend their studies if you're interested. And they found that movements that engage 3.5% of a population have almost never failed to herald some sort of change in society. And that's remarkable because the climate movement has engaged well beyond that number. 21% of Americans participated in climate-related activities the last time a survey was taken in 2023, and 9% that same year volunteered in an activity to directly address the climate crisis. So we're at over double, depending on the statistics you use, we're at over triple the 3.5% figure. Yet it still doesn't feel like our voices matter, or like we've made very much progress in addressing climate change. So when I was in high school, and as I transitioned to college, my main question has been, why is that? Why haven't we been able to see drastic progress in addressing the climate crisis when we have so much support? And I have three main answers to that question. And we can talk more about these in detail. And there are absolutely more factors than I'm listing on the screen. But I want to highlight these three main factors because they're what led me to found Good Trouble. So the first of these factors is that the environmental movement doesn't always tell a human-centered story. So we don't always talk about the effects of climate change for us as human beings. We are always talking about how sea levels rise, how animals are affected, and we hear a lot less about how us as human beings, as people, will be impacted by the climate crisis, which is interesting because the climate crisis will have huge effects on our lives. Second, all of this messaging around the climate crisis instigates a lot of fear in people, especially in my generation. The main reason I hear that students don't engage in advocacy isn't because they don't believe in climate change. It's rather that they don't believe they can do anything about it. And that sort of fear doesn't encourage activism, it encourages despair. Third is that we have a ton of environmental organizations, but there isn't very much continuity or collaboration between them. There are, at the last time I checked, around over 300,000 environmental nonprofits in the United States. And a lot of those have different missions, have different aims, work independently from one another, and so aren't collaborating in order to create global, national, statewide change. My solution, our solution to this is the Good Trouble Climate Network. Good Trouble is a network of student environmental clubs and organizations from across and now even beyond Colorado, and we're working to inspire climate action and education in our states. We really believe in our motto, which is that we decide our future. We want to elevate our generations and everyone's voices to encourage us to create that future. And we do that mostly by addressing those three main problems I talked about before. So I'm going to turn it over to Adelaide to talk a bit more about how we do all of this.
Hi, I'm Adelaide. Okay, so our three main principles that a lot of the work that we do is all based in is that we are bipartisan, that we are based in hope, and that we are student-run or student-driven for the main part. So being bipartisan for us means that we may endorse different policies, but we're never going to support a specific political party or candidate. And so we think that it's often like impossible to kind of untangle climate activism from politics, but we do think that we need everyone's ideas and activism to create a more sustainable future. And while it might often seem like climate crisis can be like a super partisan issue, we think that our activism can't reflect the world as it is, but more of the world of what we think it should be. And then hope, we just really want to tell a story that's kind of about fighting for something and not fighting against something. And so really, this just builds on our idea of a lot of the news about climate change in the world today, and especially things that are kind of geared towards students or people our age, is this doctrine of kind of like fear and disastrous, like world-ending things that are happening. And so we want to be able to tell a different story that will be able to reflect this kind of doctrine of hope that we want to be able to show the world and other students around us, and we hope that they pick up and kind of then take that on to other people as well. And then our last one is that we're student run. And so while we may have like adult mentors, we partner with a lot of different organizations that are run by people who are older than us. Our club itself and each club that is involved within our organization itself is entirely student run, which is something we're really proud of. And then next up should be, this is just our quote that basically Aisha could talk about it too some more, but this is the quote that basically our entire organization is founded off of. So by John Lewis, do not get lost in a sea of despair. Be hopeful, be optimistic. Our struggle is not the struggle of a day, a week, a month, or a year. It is the struggle of a lifetime. Never ever be afraid to make some noise and get in good necessary trouble. And then this is just another one of kind of our founding pillars, not necessarily a principle, but something that we have done a lot of work in, or something that we pour a lot of like our ideas into, and this idea that we deserve an education. And this also kind of just builds on the fact that we are a student-run club and that everything we do is from this premise of, since it feels so unattainable to make real change because the people who are in charge of the policies and the laws that are in place that feel like are holding us down, then we deserve to live in tomorrow's world, and therefore we should be able to educate ourselves to create this future that we want to live in. And so since we are the future, we will be leading tomorrow's world. We think that it's really important that we deserve an education is kind of a cornerstone of our organization, something that's really important to us. And then I'm going to pass it on to Tal to talk about the Colorado science standards that we worked on.
Thanks, Adelaide. Yeah, so I just want to touch upon a big project that we worked on last year, and that was to change the Colorado science standards. They only go through curriculum standards about once every 7 years, and when last year rolled around, they were going through the science standards. And because Good Trouble, we really want to follow the We Deserve an Education motto. Since we are a student-run organization, we really wanted to focus on including climate change, environmental education into the science standards. And so it was a really long process, and we had about three main ways that we really tried to make an impact and gather support for a social movement like this. And the first one is that we had a rally in Denver City Hall, and there we really just kind of emphasized we deserve an education. We had a lot of students come out, and you can see us in the photos, like writing on a big piece of paper, just our ideas and the kind of why behind this education. And then also, Colorado's pretty rural, so we couldn't reach everyone across the whole big state. So we also did an Instagram campaign where people could post photos with them holding a sign saying, we deserve an education. And then lastly, we had people give public comment the Board of Education. And so we gave public comment trainings for a lot of folks who didn't know how to do public comment, or it was scary at first. I know for me, the first time doing it was really scary. So we offered those trainings to people who were interested and wanted to give public comment. Next slide. Yeah, so I just want to give a little bit of statistics, but we had 300 plus student signatures saying that they wanted more climate education in their science standards. We had 6 students able to go in person and testify in front of the school board, and we had 30 public comment submissions. So I really think that made a really big impact. And then if we jump to the next slide, there were some really great changes that were made for the school board. So when August rolled around and it was approved and it passed, For elementary schools, we had more Colorado specific environmental education. And then moving up to middle school, the standards changed where they talked more about renewable energy and also mining. And then in high school, there was an emphasis on learning about fossil fuel production and considering the impact on natural systems, the economy, human rights, waste management, social costs, and then the long-term impact of using natural resources like that.
Wow.
Thank you so much for that overview, Tal. We have continued working to create our better future since we passed the science standards in August. This year, we are focusing on two main categories of work. The first one is legislation, which I'll touch on briefly. We also have Muriel on our call, who is our expert on legislation. So she'll be happy to answer any questions you have. This year, Good Travel's advocacy around legislation largely surrounds two main policy areas. The first is data centers. We are supporting regulations on data centers. There's two very controversial bills regarding data centers right now. So we are supporting the bill that would encourage regulation around data centers. And we are not supporting, or we are opposing the bill that would incentivize data centers to come to our state and provide them tax benefits if they do so. We think that's incredibly important because AI use will continue to increase in our future, and we need to be able to make sure that happens in a sustainable way so that we do not destroy our energy infrastructure enabled in our future. Our second main policy area is around a constitutional right to a safe and healthy environment. This legislation hasn't been proposed in Colorado yet. We anticipate it being proposed within the next couple of weeks. And if the state legislature passes it by 2/3 in the House and the Senate, there will be a vote in Colorado as a whole on if our constituency is in favor of a right to a safe and healthy environment in Colorado's Constitution, which we believe is a choice voters should be able to make and is something that voters will want. And Tal, do you want to talk a bit more about our climate education segment?
Yes. So then this year, what we're really trying to focus on for climate education within Good Trouble is two things. First is a seal of climate literacy. And this is a seal that high school students can get if they've taken two classes that are involved with climate education. So that could be a natural science course like biology, environmental science, or it could even be an art class that makes like posters about climate change. So a lot of different options there. And then the third component of the seal of climate literacy is you need to do a passion project, research project that is involved with climate or sustainability. And so with Good Trouble, number one, we try to help students implement the seal of climate literacy within their high school. And then we're also a resource for students who want to do their sustainability passion project, and we can help them brainstorm ideas or actually implement an idea into their school district. And then coming up at the beginning of May, we're having a Seal of Climate Literacy Award ceremony. And this is just to acknowledge all the high schoolers that are graduating with the seal, all their accomplishments, all the work that they've done to educate themselves. And the second thing that we're doing is we're still continuing with climate curriculum, but we're doing it on a more local level instead of a statewide level. So we're working in specific high schools and specific school districts so they are able to implement climate education and they're really able to make it personal on what they want, what their school wants or needs. So that's what we're working on this semester and hopefully the next couple semesters as well.
But we can't do any of that without support from the broader community, which is where all of you come in. So I have three kind of levels of support that we'd love for all of you to get involved in if you're interested and passionate about our work. The first level is the simplest to do and maybe not as impactful as the later levels, but also still incredibly important. And that is both following us on Instagram. We also have a Facebook if you're on Facebook, and both of the username for both of those is Good Trouble Climate Network. Pretty simple. And then you can also look up our website, or it sounds like you should have that from Jan. and sign up for our newsletter on there. And both of those mediums will allow us to communicate with you what our events are, how you can stay involved, all of that. So please, please, please do those two things. Super easy, and we'd love your support. Second level that's a bit more impactful as well is that if you know a school or organization that might be interested in working with Good Trouble, we would love to get into contact with those organizations. You can email us your ideas or email us connecting us with that school, club, or organization. And Good Trouble would not exist without the support of our partners, organizations, and partner schools. So by introducing us to more schools and organizations, you can ensure that we continue to grow as an organization and group. Our third and probably most impactful way you can get involved in Good Trouble's work is to donate to us. We are right now conducting an April Earth Month fundraiser. I have a QR code on the screen that will take you directly to that fundraiser. We're going to use all the donations we get here to fund a grant we're providing to schools this April if they complete a sustainability challenge. So we'd really love any size donation from you for that. And if you have any questions about donations or how that would work, I would be very happy to answer your questions. And that is just about everything I have for you. I do want to close out by going back, and I'll keep this on the screen while I'm talking. I do want to close out by going back to our initial introduction. I told you that a lot of the reason I founded Good Trouble was because of my own hopelessness and because I didn't feel like my own voice mattered in the climate crisis. Good Trouble has proven to me that each of our voices is incredibly significant. I never expected I could be part of a movement that would change statewide policy regarding climate curriculum. I never expected I would have the incredible honor of leading a group like Good Trouble. So what I've learned from this work is that my voice is powerful, that each of our voices are powerful, and that we can each create an incredible impact in our broader community. So thank you so very much for listening to our presentation and for being here today. And we are now excited to answer any questions that you may have. And Jan, should we just go in the chat and answer questions? Do you guys have a protocol?
Sandy's gonna unmute and ask. Some of them you've answered, but reinforcing with answers again, like the QR code somehow. If there's another way to get to you to donate besides the QR code would be nice to have too. So Sandy.
Erica had a question about working with the elementary and or middle school level in any way. Is that a plan?
Yes, absolutely. I'm seeing if Maya's on our call because she'd be able to answer that question better than me. But yes, we have both elementary, middle, high school, and college clubs in our network at this point, which is so exciting. So we work with students at every level. We believe a student is never too young to start learning about the environment and how they can make a difference. I have worked with elementary school students who know more about environmental issues than I do. So we love working with younger students, and we absolutely try to include students at every level in their education.
Okay. And Muriel, did you want to ask your question? So you can kind of zero in on exactly what you want. Muriel?
I don't think I asked a question. I
Oh.
did respond to someone's question.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't read it all. Okay. Patricia.
Oh, hey, you guys are inspiring. Thank you so much. Very nicely done presentation. I had a question about how you came to the priorities that you made this year. I had a question about that. And I went on my computer and immediately found you on Instagram, and I'm following you now. I hope everybody else does the same thing. It's easy, but I could not find you on Facebook. So I don't know if there's something on you can put in the chat, one of you can put in the chat, because I tried Good Trouble Colorado, Good Trouble Climate Network. It wasn't picking you up. Thanks.
Okay. Sandy Schuster?
I had the same question Jane does. I was wondering what schools in Colorado you're working with. Is it a whole lot? Or you probably said this already and I just missed it.
Yeah. Okay, why don't we answer those in order? So, Hall, would you be okay talking a little bit about how we chose our priorities for this year since you were the part of that process?
Yeah, so I'd say that like specifically with the education priorities, we kind of try to work with what there when there is need and when there is want. And so with the seal of climate literacy, where it's that seal that graduating seniors can get, it's like a super cool award to get when you graduate and a really nice skill to have. But when we talked with a lot of our partner schools, we realized that a lot of them were having trouble implementing it in their school districts or were unclear on how to do a project. So when we heard that there was kind of a need to have more support and have an outside resource, that's kind of how we decided to pursue helping with the seal of climate literacy. And then with the climate curriculum, I'm really proud of the changes that we were able to make on the state level. It's such an accomplishment, but also, there's more that we wanted to do. And so we thought that the next best step would to be going local and be going more specific within these schools for a climate curriculum. So that's kind of why we chose to narrow on those two topics. And then also as an organization, we kind of get together and discuss different goals that we have for Good Trouble, especially in Colorado. We have a lot of members on our executive team that all come from diverse backgrounds and have so many amazing opinions to share. And so we're really able to, go back and forth with each other and brainstorm on what our goals want to be each semester.
And thank you so much, Doll. Addie, do you want to answer the Facebook question?
Yeah, I'm working on it right now. I just realized our Facebook it's technically not its own Facebook account. It's an Instagram account that's linked through Meta, because you can't make a business account through something else. But thank you for letting me know because I will fix that and make sure you guys can find it.
Thank you. And then Sydney, did you want to talk more about the schools we're partnered with?
Of course. Hi, everyone. So Good Trouble is actually a network of 22 schools from across Colorado. As Aisha said, we have elementary schools, middle schools, a majority of high school clubs though, and a college from Arizona, which is really cool. I saw someone asked in the chat about an introduction to some of the partner schools near the League of Women Voters. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not quite exactly sure where Larimer County is, but I Googled it. So these are the schools that are closest. But we work with Fort Collins High School, which I think is up around there and potentially in Larimer County. And also then the Watershed School and Centaurus High School and Monarch High School are all up there. But a majority of our clubs do come from the Front Range. So we have a lot of clubs in Denver and then the Colorado Springs area. So, yeah.
How about Jefferson County?
I actually don't know where that is. I have a map though of all the schools we work with that I can put in the chat though, if that would
That would
be
be
helpful.
great. That'd be great.
Hands down. I'm just going to raise my hand, jump in. For the certificate for sustainability, how many school districts in Colorado have that? That's an opportunity, and so that would be an interesting beginning, I guess. They have to have that first, right?
Yeah, Tal, do you know the answer to that?
I don't know off the top of my head, but it's a relatively newer seal. So it's only been out for 2 years. So that means only two graduating classes have it so far.
Okay.
So yeah, it's like relatively newer. So there's not a lot of schools, but I'm gonna pop the website in the chat and then I'll be able to tell you
Okay.
how many.
I know Jefferson County has it because we just had a discussion with the school board, and I was wondering if Larimer does, where you guys are been started or whatever, I believe. Did you guys start in Marion County? No?
They started in Durango, I think.
Oh, in
Yeah,
Durango.
Durango.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are
Ah,
schools not required by law to offer that to students? Because
No.
it is a law that made it available, I thought, to all students
oh,
across
really?
Colorado. But,
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
but I
It's
don't know if they're
mandatory.
required to offer it or if it depends on what resources schools have.
so
Yeah.
it does
yeah.
depend on school districts. School boards can vote to adopt the seal of climate literacy in their district. When it was passed, it was very locally focused. So it wasn't designed to force any school districts to adopt more climate related policies, but it's encouraged to reward school districts that do, which is a lot of the reason. So we were one of the main organizations that advocated for the seal of climate literacy to pass when it originally did 2 years ago. And that's a lot of the reason that we switched last year to focusing more on requiring climate education so that we can both encourage and require students to learn about the environment. Does that answer your question?
Very much. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, and there is the map.
Yeah. Very impressive.
Yep, it definitely is the
Have her
front
hand
page.
up.
I'm sorry, what? Who has their hand up? Oh, Kathy.
Yeah, so I'm curious, I saw in the comment some interest in the data center bills. Are you involved at all in the amendment process? Are you among the stakeholders that are working on developing amendments for those, either one of those bills?
Muriel, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, so sorry, are you asking about the data center bills or the constitutional amendment or
The
both?
data center bills.
Okay, so mostly I think as of now we've been involved in public testimony for it, so written, online, and in person. And we had a youth climate lobby day in February. So we had a bunch of students go to the Capitol in person and meet with legislators. So that was a big talking point as of now, but we are less involved in the actual like edits or like the process of the bills in that sense.
We would
Okay.
love to be more involved. So if you
Yeah.
have organizations or know
Oh, I was
people
hoping
who
you
are
had the
looking at-
inside track and we could ride your tail.
I wish. No, honestly, we've been working to be as involved as possible with those measures, but right now it's a little opaque where they are in the legislative process. So if anyone
That's
has
pretty
insights,
much
we would
where
welcome them.
where it always is.
Yeah, we're in the same boat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, there was a question, could Adelaide talk about her internship at the Earth Force?
Yeah,
Ad-
so a lot of the work I do, so my role at Good Trouble is technically like social media, like marketing kind of stuff. So I'm a computer science and a graphic design major. And so what I did at Earth Force was basically like I redesigned some of their web pages for their main website. I do a lot of like promotional materials. It's a lot of what I do for like Good Trouble. Like I make our brochures, our flyers, our pamphlets. I do a lot of like brand identity. Kind of marketing stuff. But yeah, I really liked it there. I had a lot of fun. They're really connected. We've worked with them a couple times, I think, or we've like kind of coincided. But yeah, they're super connected. They're kind of like Earth Force is, I would describe them as like the adult version of us almost, but they like to work more firsthand with like actual educators and teachers, which is really, really cool. But yeah.
Okay. Committee working with the stakeholder. Okay. And there was a comment from Anne. The league's legislative action committee has been working with a member with stakeholder groups for the Senate Bill 102. So kind of coinciding with your.
But the information that comes out of that is I think it remains opaque.
Right, right, but
Yeah, let me explain that. I didn't write it. I tried to make it short and sweet.
Oh.
On the
Okay.
Legislative Action Committee, we're divided up into interest groups, and we have a natural resources / environmental group. Tony Larson on our environmental group has been working with the stakeholders for Senate Bill 102 for months. So we have been giving input to that group. The natural resources group has been giving input to the stakeholder group that's developing the amendments. SB 102 has had one hearing at which the league testified, and probably your group did too. It's now, quote, laid over while they work on amendments. So it doesn't have another hearing date set yet, but there's a lot of activity going on behind the scenes. And the other bill, which will be heard in the House, HB 1030, does not have a hearing date yet.
And Patricia Berger commented that you might want to look at the Colorado Citizens Observer Project on Substack, that there is a great article comparing the two data center bills currently in the legislation. So more information.
Sonia, can you put a link in the chat and how they can get to that?
There is a
It's in
link.
there.
There is? Okay, good.
Okay. Anything? Okay, there is a question from Sonia. Is there a target to provide paths from high school direct to careers in things like energy, soil, science, whatever?
Paul, do you have an answer for that?
I think I don't really have a good answer for this, but I think it just really depends on the school district. So I graduated from Lake County High School, and I think we had a lot of opportunities to go into trade school and that type of thing. So like working with Colorado Mountain College to get a welding degree and that kind of stuff. And then also part of my project with the Seal of Climate Literacy is that I worked to get solar panels on my high school. And part of that process is that I really wanted to have an internship program with like installing the solar panels because a lot of kids in my high school were interested in construction, and so part of the installation process was that students were able to like work with engineers and work with construction workers on how to install the panels and that kind of thing. And the goal was so that they could learn about like renewable energy, and then hopefully more people would be interested in working with renewable energy in the future. So I think it really just depends on the school district, and then also if kids are interested in pursuing more trade like jobs after high school.
Thank you. I think the donation link is in there, everybody.
Good. I had my hand up too, so I'll go ahead and jump
you.
in.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. I spent considerable amount of my life, my professional life, in education, and it's not good trouble's responsibility to make sure that the standards are being implemented. But I'm kind of interested in, trust but verify. Do you have any knowledge, or would we need to follow up about training that teachers are getting to teach the standards, and what those standards are, where we might look for that and make sure it's happening?
We can absolutely provide you a link to the updated standards, and we would appreciate any assistance you all can provide in ensuring school districts are actually following them. A lot of the work Paul and their education team is doing is to ensure that the standards are implemented to their fullest degree. So we want to work with school districts to ensure that they're going above and beyond these standards. We don't have that much influence in the implementation of these standards in districts where we aren't currently working with schools to update their curriculum, which is, of course, a major flaw in the system. So we would appreciate any assistance you all are interested in providing in that area or suggestions you may have. The new updated standards don't actually have to be implemented for another 2 years. So hopefully we will see more trainings and work to ensure they are implemented before then.
Good.
Mhm.
Thank you. You're muted, Sandy.
Kathy, did you have a question?
Yes, I was curious if you could give us some examples of the kinds of projects you've seen done for these passion projects that students are doing to get their climate seal. Because I understand that those were, if I remember reading the bill before it was passed, we testified in favor of that bill being passed a few years ago. And as I recall, the project was supposed to have some benefit to the community. So I'm curious what kinds of projects were being done, if you have any examples.
Yeah, I can take this one. So as I mentioned before, my project was getting solar panels for my high school. So a lot of benefits with that. And then one of my friends worked at a community garden, so she provided produce to the community. I also we have some interns right now that are working with Good Trouble, and one of them is spreading awareness about forest fires and like how to prevent them from your home, how to prevent them when you're just outside. We have another person that's focusing on water conservation, trying to keep pollutants out of the water. A lot of people start environmental clubs or sustainability clubs at their high school to just have more awareness. Those are ones at the top of my head.
Well, those are excellent
Sure.
examples. Thank you. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Yeah.
And I do think that the majority of students on this call from Good Trouble EC are pursuing or did complete the Seal of Climate Literacy. Tall or Mirel or Addie, do you guys want to talk about your projects at all? Or sorry, Sydney.
I can talk a little bit. So I actually came from a school that was not offering the seal of climate literacy. So I graduated from Pine Creek High School in Colorado Springs, and we did not have the opportunity to get the seal, but we are currently working with Pine Creek to get them to have the seal. But I can say that me and a couple of my friends did do some projects outside of actually being able to attain the seal. So I specifically worked with the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo in Colorado Springs. And I did work there kind of as an intern. I wasn't technically called an intern, but I was basically an intern. And I worked to educate the public on conservation topics. So water conservation, palm oil was a big one that we talked about. But then I also had my little sister, actually, she did a project on auditing her middle school for energy usage. So yeah.
Great. That's great.
Wow, yeah.
Thank you.
I can also speak to that. I was part of Durango High School's inaugural class that received the Seal of Climate Literacy. And I took a kind of different approach. So I used the work I did to pass the Seal of Climate Literacy to fulfill that project. So I think that engaging in environmental advocacy is another really important route to earning the Seal of Climate Literacy.
For sure. That's great. Thank you.
Okay. Am I missing any hands up? No. Okay. And I did look up some of the requirements for the certification, and it's strong knowledge in concerning climate, connection to nature, real life, interdisciplinary work, and hands-on with local communities. So those 5 things are pretty integral into the projects you were talking about. Thank you. It would be cool to see that every year. What are the kind of projects that were done around the state?
If you guys are curious about other projects being done in the state, you're all welcome to attend our Seal of Climate Literacy celebration on May 1st at 7 p.m. And please invite any students you know who are interested in coming as well. We're definitely looking for more students to RSVP. And Tal, if you want to drop that RSVP in the chat, that could be super awesome.
Where is your your party?
It's online, so you can join from anywhere.
Okay. That's good for old ladies.
It's good for us too. Thanks, Tom. I did see a question in the chat about our work with Monarch High School. Sydney, do you want to just describe more of our work with all high schools in general? Or Muriel, you could also talk a bit about how we work with them on legislation.
I'll take that one first. So for all of our different high schools, basically what we work as is a support system for them in whatever projects they want to work on, based either in climate or just in general conservation. So right now we're working with all of our schools to do plan events for Earth Day. But specifically for Monarch High School, we currently have 2 interns from Monarch High School right now who are working directly with Good Trouble. And they, with their club, are working on our Earth Day bingo, actually, which is where we have all of our schools do different little tasks to try to get their schools a little bit more conservation minded and climate minded. And our students, or our interns specifically from Monarch High School, are working on their intern passion projects right now. So one of them, I believe, is doing work with water conservation, and the other one, I believe, is still narrowing down their intern passion project. But as for our other schools, again, we're just working with them to with the projects that they are currently working on. So there's a little more specifics if you want, but
There was a question about, are all the Good Trouble members women?
Okay, so this is not intentional, but every member of our executive committee is currently a woman. We have we have 9 members of our executive committee, and all of us are women. We've had boys do our internship. We do an internship each semester where we invite students into this climate curriculum space, but we have never had any of the men break the glass ceiling. So I like to say we're reinventing a glass ceiling here. Muriel, did you have anything to add on what we do with schools, specifically around policy?
Yeah, so I talked about the Youth Climate Lobby Day a little bit ago. It was in February, so that was we had elementary schoolers there and we had high schoolers and college kids there, which was really awesome. I think a large part of working with schools legislatively is kind of simplifying what actually legislation looks like for climate policy, as well as teaching them how to give testimony. So we were part of a bunch of workshops at Platt a little while ago. That was a workshop on how to give testimony. So that was elementary, middle school, and high schoolers. And then there was a workshop we did in Spanish as well, which was really awesome. So I've also been in communication recently with a lot more high schoolers on giving testimony and about emailing their legislators about different climate legislation.
Great. And if somebody can put the party link in there, we'd appreciate it.
It should be in the chat. And then I see that Jan, it's in the chat. Tall linked it. It's right above Patricia's comments. We can put it in the chat again if
okay.
you guys need.
No,
Yes.
that's fine. It's
Thanks,
there.
Tall. And I also see that Jan has her hand up. Do you wanna, what's your question?
Yeah, we are the League of Women Voters, and one of our things that we are certainly working on, we're also nonpartisan as you are, but we've also been accused of just being a group of little white-haired ladies. Although our full name, at least in Larimer County, is the League of Women Voters of Larimer County, not for women only. And so I, and there are men voters and women voters. And I'm just wondering if there's anything from the youth point of view that would spark an interest and get out the vote of your generation for those who are eligible. What
That's a hard
appeals to
question.
you?
That's such a hard question because I think there's
Yeah.
so many different answers. I'm majoring in political science at CU Boulder, so this is definitely something I've considered a lot. So outside of my work with Good Trouble, I would say that the biggest thing that you can do is encourage young people to vote. We get the right to vote at such a turbulent time in our lives. When you're 18, you are living away from home, usually for the first time. You're in a totally new world without many of the support systems or civic education you had before. And just having someone there to remind you to go vote, having a support system to tell you how to do it and explain the process is so very important. Good Trouble does advertise things like when to register to vote and that sort of thing. I do think we should get more involved in that work, though. And from a Good Trouble standpoint, the thing that I think encourages our generation to vote is really understanding that we have a voice in our future. A lot of the time, it can seem like our vote, just like our advocacy, doesn't make that much of a difference. And so communicating to young voters that our vote matters and we can change our electoral systems is incredibly important because we do have issues we care about. We hear about things like the climate crisis every day, but going from hearing about those things to acting on them is a big leap that students and people need support in overcoming. Does anyone else on the EC have a different answer? That's not like our official answer. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I really liked your answer. I'll say that I voted for the first time this year in the Virginia governor state election, and it was really nice because my campus had a voting booth that was 2 minutes from my dorm room, and I could just walk over and vote there. And they were super kind, helping me vote for the first time. I didn't have to drive anywhere because I don't have a car. So I think just like making sure that voting is accessible to college students because, as Aisha mentioned, it's our first time voting and it can be kind of nerve-wracking at first. So like just supporting college students and 18-year-olds in that sense.
I can add something on to that too, really quickly. So I am currently at college. I'm at UC Santa Cruz. And one of the biggest barriers I've currently had to voting is that since I'm still a Colorado resident, I still have to have my mail-in ballot, which currently means that it's mailed to my parents' house, then they mail it to me, and then I drive, find a mailbox to mail it back to Colorado. So I can say one of the biggest things that has helped me to vote, and I'm sure countless others, is having more access to one, places to mail things, and to actually having mail-in ballots, which I know has been a little bit contentious in the recent past.
I'll also say, because I'm a junior in high school, so I'm not really near voting age. I'm 16, but I can say that we had a big during our like advisory class, we had a group of kids that would come in and talk about how you can like pre-register to vote if you're not 18 yet. And also, I think a lot of high schoolers don't know they can vote more than just once every 4 years. So I think that that's like a big thing is starting it early and in high school before they turn 18 so that they know they can vote in like midterms and they they can read up on people and policies they're voting for. So like getting them more involved kind of gets people more excited to vote before they're 18.
Nice.
Hey, Sydney, you need to know that all you have to do is to go vote, go to govotecolorado.org, no, not gov, and in there you can change where your ballot is mailed. So it doesn't have to go to your parents' house first. It'll go straight to your dorm room or wherever you're living. You don't change your residency because you want to vote in Colorado, I assume. You can vote in California too, obviously, but you wouldn't vote in both places, of course. So, if you want to change where your ballot is mailed, that's super easy to do with the Secretary of State's office. So go vote colorado.gov and you can look at the list of things you can do and you can change all kinds of things, including your affiliation, your mailing address, whatever. But there's a place where you can say, I want it mailed here in Colorado. But you probably want to have your residency stay in Colorado if you want to vote here. You don't want to change your residency to California unless you want to vote there. Got it?
Thank you. I'll do that.
Okay, that's one of our jobs here in the League of Women Voters, is making sure everybody knows the rules. Thanks. Did I get that right, Mary?
Mary?
Yes, yeah, and I was just going to add, if she wants to track her ballot, if she provides either an email address or a phone number for texting when she goes into govotecolorado.gov, then she'll get notified that her ballot's gone in the mail, and then she'll get notified again when it's received by the county clerk. And then she'll get another notification when her ballot's been counted. And I, in particular, really appreciate that service. So I would definitely sign up for that.
Okay. I think any other
Ready to-
question?
Ready to close out?
I think so.
Thank you for attending our last combined program for the 25-26 league year. Hopefully, there will be more collaborations of task forces in the future. Next month, be sure to attend the regular educational meeting of the League of Women Voters of Colorado Climate Emergency Task Force on May 21st at 4 p.m. We are planning to have a review of environmentally pertinent legislative actions from the current legislative session of Colorado, presented by members of the League of Women Voters of Colorado Legislative Action Committee. These leaguers have studied, written summaries, and testified before the legislature on the bills. They are experts. The states have to pick up where the federal government has left off. Find out what your legislators have been up to. The next meeting of the News Access and Literacy Task Force will be on May 19th. If you would like to be on that mailing list, contact Linda Hutchinson. Her email is in the chat. Past programs are available in the video section of the League of Women Voters Colorado homepage. Click on About Us. If you wish to be a member of the Climate Emergency Task Force mailing list and get our updates, just email me, Sandy Schuster. Both the League of Women Voters of Colorado homepage and my email are in the chat. I think they're right at the beginning of the chat. See you next month for the legislative wrap-up on May 21st, and good night.
Thank you. Good trouble. And for all of you in attending.
Thank
Good
you
night.
for having us.
Yeah.
We can turn on the voice.
Thank you.